What's up, YouTube? It's Carl, No Coast Fab. We're working on the 52, and today I'm going to show you how to figure out your spring rates for your coilovers. So, let me flip this around, we'll get right to it. So, video after this, we'll kind of go over what I've been working on. I got some stuff recorded, I just haven't finished it out yet. Put some tires on the back though. I mean, we actually got some tractions and stuff. So, not much has changed here other than tires. I worked over these doors. They work a lot better now. Parts I still got to put on. You'll see that next time. Wheels on. I've been working on this guy. But for today's video, let's see if I can step back. We're sitting a little too low. And not low as in I don't like how low it sits. Low as in the shock's not sitting in the position it needs to be for what this truck's going to be used for. So I've told you this is going to be a driver / autocross truck. You can Google and see, just Google, you know, that imaginary guy on your phone. He'll tell you approximately what percentage of shock you want, like how much shaft sticking out versus your stroke, for what you're going to use it for. So, like a street car, you want 60-40. Maybe 40% compression, 60% rebound, or vice versa. Vice versa. 60% compression, 40% rebound. Street, or God, my brain, I swear to God. Autocross, you want to be closer to 50-50. I'm going to set this 50 to 55. 55% compression, 45% rebound. Or 50-50, just whatever gets me close. That's going to put my shock in the right position for the valving to work correct. And yeah, so drag racing, you're going to be complete opposite. You want a lot of rebound, just so that when you pop the front up, you have a lot more coming down. First thing we're going to do is we have springs on there already. We need to know what springs we have. So I have 500-pound springs on here now. I have the full weight of the truck sitting on here. You're going to measure your spring height. So the compressed height of your spring. Then you're going to jack the truck up. You're going to measure the extended length of that spring. Those are the two measurements you have to have. The other measurement you're going to have is with everything, like all the weight sitting on them, you're going to need to know how much shaft you have poking out. So how much shaft, how much travel you have left before you're completely bottomed out. So I already have all that. Rather than bore you guys with jacking the truck up and down and watching me measure, I'm just going to kick on over to the board and show you the math on how to figure this out. All right, guys. Before we dig into this, I'm going to go over a couple of the most common issues I see when people bring stuff into the shop that they have coilovers on. First, this threaded body and this collar here are not for adjusting ride height. You don't set your ride height off of that. That's the number one thing I always see. A lot of people, they'll get the coilovers, they'll get them mounted, the car doesn't sit exactly where they want, so they'll go threading up and down on that body to set the ride height. That's a no-no. The purpose of that collar and that thread is to get that shock in its effective zone and to keep it there. So you have about 10% of variance here. So for example, a shock with a 5-inch stroke like this one on the bench here. About a 1/2 inch of that is about all that's about what you get for leeway up and down with that collar to keep that shock in its effective zone for what you're using it for. And that's where this is going to come in, so that we can make sure that we're getting the right spring for that, well, to keep it in that zone. Second most common problem I see is most vehicles are undersprung. They don't have a heavy enough spring. They'll put a spring in too light, they'll run it clear up on that collar, and it just gives you a sloppy ride. It might ride nice and smooth, but I mean, it's like driving a 1970s Cadillac with a blown out suspension. I mean, you get a lot of extra, you get a lot of motion in the ocean. So those are the two most common things I see, but let's get to this and we'll figure out how to get the right springs on your truck, car, hot rod, whatever you're building. This method is nice because you don't need scales, you don't need the angle of the shock, you don't need any of that. This is going to get you really close without having to go through the 39,500 steps to figure a spring rate. So, like I said, we have I don't know if I said it. I have 500 pound springs on that truck right now. So my extended length on those shocks, so just the way they're sitting right here, is 11 3/4. They're a 12-inch spring, so I have a little bit of preload on there, nothing crazy. My compressed height, so when this is sitting on the vehicle, and all of our sprung weight is sitting on top of it. Man, I can't talk today. Sorry, guys. Not enough coffee yet. So my compressed height on my spring is 9 1/4. So if I take 11 3/4 minus 9 1/4, that spring is compressing 2.5 inches. So now we take that 2.5, and we're going to times it by our spring weight, which in this case is 500 pounds. So 2.5 times 500 gives us 1,250 pounds. 1,250 pounds is how much weight these springs are supporting. So that's our sprung weight. Now our sprung weight is all of the weight the suspension carries. Our unsprung weight would be like wheels, tires, lower control arms, rotors, stuff like that. Weight that the suspension doesn't have to carry. So that's the difference between those two. So now that we have our sprung weight, we can figure out how much shaft we want showing. I told you I'm gonna go between 50 and 55% compression, okay? So on a 5-inch stroke, 50% gives me 2.5. So I want 2.5 inches of stroke showing. So I'm going to take the 1,250 pounds, I'm going to divide it by 2.5, 2.5, the amount of shock, the amount of stroke that I want showing. And that gives me 500. So I need 500 pound spring. So I'm pretty close with this one. Let's say that I want to be 55% compression. Like you're planning on dealing with a lot of bumps and you need more up travel. So if I want 2 3/4 instead of 2.5, so I want a little bit more compression there, I want 45% of that shaft inside the shock body. So 55% out leaves 45% in. So 45% of rebound. So these two, just make sure you keep those straight if you're playing with different lengths here. So if I want 2 3/4 showing, that should be 2.5. Got math problems, guys. 2.25. I want 2.25 inside of the shock body. That'll leave me 2.75 for compression. So I will take that 1,250, divide it by 2.25, and that gives me 555 pounds. So to run 55% compression, I need a 550 pound spring. To run 50% compression, I need a 500 pound spring. This is the fastest, simplest, easiest way to figure out your spring rates. It does require that you have a spring on your coilover. Maybe you end up changing it. Most coilover companies have some sort of an exchange program. I'll normally start between 400 and 500, somewhere in there. That's a good, like for your front end, that's gonna be pretty close. It's gonna at least be close enough that you can get it bolted on, get the weight on them, and then you can buzz through this and you can narrow it down to exactly what you need. So, just for fun, I'm gonna slap the scales under this. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes. Go down in the comments, tell me what you think this truck weighs, and then I'll be right back. Okay, she's on the scales. Did you guys get your guesses in? Because we're about to take a gander here. Right now, 2,788 pounds. And our front to rear, well, 49%, 49.9 in the front, 38.27 in the rear. Across is at 51.2, which really isn't that bad. I'll be focusing more weight on the rear now as we go forward. And this helps because now we know where we need to put the weight. So, like I'll move the batteries back here. We still have a fuel cell and everything to go. I'll probably, to get the weight split where I want it, I can either add weight or I can add stuff. So I'll probably put 2 batteries, clear in the back here. So putting them clear back here, it'll put more weight in the rear, but it'll also take a little bit off the front because we're acting like a lever. I mean, in theory. It won't really pull weight off the front, but it'll help with our balance. It'll help with our percentages. So I'll stick 2 batteries back here, fuel cell. Anything that needs added back here, like we still have brakes. We're missing brakes back here, but that's pretty light. And I mean, really, what am I missing? We're still missing a bit on the interior, but as far as weight going on the front, everything's pretty much here other than the hood and the headers. Moving to the back, like the inside, we still need dash interior stuff. We'll pick up some weight there, but not a tremendous amount. In the back, we'll stab in 2 batteries, fuel cell, tailgate. I might do like a little downforce thing, just for fun. We still have a bunch of bead-rolled panels to go in here. We still got tubs to go, so the weight still has quite a bit of weight to pick up, which will help with our front to rear bias. And then looking at this, you can see our left rear and our right front are both heavy. They're the opposite of these. This can be adjusted out. So we could put some turns into this coilover, take some turns out of that coilover, and balance that. The front won't be quite as easy to tinker with. Let me show you why. So the front, like we could take turns in and out, but it's also going to change the truck being level. Back here though, we can take turns in and out to help our cross balance, and then we can adjust our ride height with that linkage down there. So we can, the way this is set up, we can almost, I mean, it's not much different than using that as like weight jacks. So we should be able to get this truck balanced out pretty well. And I'm going to say by the time we're on the road, we're under 3,200. So this should be a pretty fun ride. But that's going to be it for this time. I'm Carl. Like, subscribe, click the bell, do the thing, you know. And next episode, I'll go over the motor parts that went on and some of the door stuff that I've done, and I don't know, other bits and pieces. I don't even remember what's recorded. So I'll probably be as surprised as you. So till next time, peace.